Hello everyone, welcome back to Survival Minecraft Season 2, Episode 2. In today's episode, we will be transforming the coastline with a fantastic mob farm in the form of a hot air balloon on a floating island in a castle in the sky. Yep, that sounds very convoluted, but that's what we'll do. We'll also decorate the town walls a little bit, and we'll build a docks and a lighthouse, and a couple other structures. So buckle up and prepare, because today you're in for a wild ride. To start off with, I needed to make a little fence around this area where I gathered spruce trees so that I was safe from mobs. It's just a simple design, but I quite like it. Next, I decorated the whole town walls with this spruce archway just to give it a bit more detail. And I might make some arrow holes in the future. This villager looks like he's about to jump. It probably got wind that it will get incorporated into my capitalist Emerald Empire later on and was rethinking all of its life choices. Oh well, I would too if I was it. Next, I wanted to make this fence along this cliff face, because I was worried about villagers taking fall damage. Unfortunately, they're not the smartest tools in the shed, so you do have to make things a bit baby safe, almost as if you have kids or pets that you don't want to fall off a staircase, and put a little gate there. So I did that, and as well as decorated the area around the mines with some more supporting structural integrity stuff like arches and so on. Then this iron golem decided to get stuck in the chicken coop, so I decided to take care of him. Or should I say them? Next, I moved on to prepare the beach for the docks. I started off with doing a bit of terraforming of the sand, and then I would make the docks. I only made it in this small little bay, but I do eventually want to cover the whole coastline with a big harbor port city. There will be lots of docks, ships, taverns, shops, pubs, you name it, we'll have it. I used some spruce and oak to make the docks because I really like this aesthetic and it's good for a starter village. I don't have a lot of expensive things like prismarine just yet, but here I made the entrance to the docks, and now you can see the layout that I'm going for. I made some little nooks that you can park some boats in, and that will be very useful because we can use it to get to our mob farm, and later on I will decorate it with some barrels and chests and things like that. So now you can see the basic layout of the docks, and there's some nice beaches that I need to terraform, and eventually I will make more structures here as well as a lighthouse on the left. And I do also want to use those islands maybe for a fishing village or something like that. And I will be covering this whole coastline with more docks and structures and things, as well as some crop fields and flower fields along the pathway. So now I'm cutting to where I built the mob farm. I didn't want to show you this part because it's kind of boring, to be honest, and you've probably seen it a million times before, but I just went with the tried and trusted old version that was probably invented in 2012, or discovered I should say. It just uses square platforms and water streams to collect the mobs, and yeah, as you can see, there's already lots of mobs in that little place. And I'm also going to put my enchanting table. I got tons of drops from it that I'll be able to use to trade with the villagers and to make rockets and bone meal for crops and trees and things like that. I also enchanted some books and all of my gear, and now you can see it from the coastline. It's very simple at the moment, but I had an idea to turn it into a hot air balloon to explain why it's defying gravity. And I would also take down the ladder because it was very slow and tedious to climb all the way up every time I needed to go. And now you can see how I've decorated the docks a little bit with some random bits and bobs and tables and stuff. So now you can hopefully enjoy this montage of me building the balloon and decorating the mob farm. Enjoy. Now that I was getting to build the floating island in the sky, I wanted to decorate it with some blueberry vines. The reason for this is twofold, because I wanted to light it up so that you can actually see it, as well as to make it look like it's been there for a very long time. So I went caving and I found a lush cave, and I also found tons of diamond, gold, geode, and other ores. There we go, I finally got lucky, and it took a while, but I've got 3 axolotls. And I also collected some other things from the lush cave. Now we are back, and you can see that I also tamed a donkey, and so I put it beside our cats. You can also see in my inventory that we got tons of ores, as well as an enchanted golden apple, which is very rare, except unless you go to ancient cities, of course. And I will show you that next clip, along with the clip of me finding the 3 axolotls. And there I was very intrigued with why we got almost 30 of each ore type. Very interesting. Here you can see we got 3 different types of axolotls. I didn't find a brown one, but I could get that by breeding them, so that's okay. And I might even try to get the rare blue one. But now you can see we found a skeleton spotter. It's very hard to see because it's covered in vines, but lo and behold, we have an enchanted golden apple. They used to be very rare before Mojang added ancient cities. Now you can see that I made a little fence on this church tower, because the villager was giving me, making me a bit anxious because I was worried it would fall off. But next I needed to get some granite and diorite for the lighthouse, so I headed down to the mines to collect that. Then I went to the beach and started building the lighthouse. I made one version first, but I didn't like it, so I took it down and then settled on this design. It's kind of simple and basic, and in hindsight I wish I had made it slightly bigger because it looks a bit too skinny. So I might do that in the future, but for now I kind of like it. It's kind of cute, and it fits in the vibes of what we're doing so far. Now you can see that I am building a little house, a cottage for the lighthouse keeper. This lighthouse keeper watches over the docks and makes sure that the lighthouse has enough light, ironically, so that the ships can come safely into harbor. And here I'm trying to experiment with different window designs, but in the end I will just keep one big window and make 2 smaller ones. There's no interiors yet, so I do need to go back and decorate the interiors. And I might even make a little wheat field or something like that, or a flower field, because I just bone mealed the ground with grass. Now I made the roof out of deep slate tiles. Deep slate might be my favorite block besides spruce that Mojang has added to the game of all time. It is just such a nice block. We have so many versions of it, We have cobbled deep slate brick, deep slate tiles, and polished deep slate. They're really good for gradients, and I love using deep slate tiles for roofs. There's just something about them that makes the roofs look very realistic. But now, thank you very much for watching today's episode. Without further ado, I will show you the grand reveal of what we have accomplished so far. Walking along the walls, you could see the progress of what we've accomplished in the first episode, and now it is time for the grand reveal. You could see the lighthouse and the floating island in the castle in the sky. I had an idea that the floating island was here first, and the settlers in the village discovered it, and it quickly became a viral sensation, causing lots of tourism to this part of the land. So the villagers settled here in hopes to profit from the tourism, and then they decided that they could monopolize the island and make hot air balloon rides going back and forth, so that tourists can go and see it. And they can also send archaeologists and researchers to investigate the island and find out who made the castle and why, and if there are any other floating islands in this land. But in reality, it's just an excuse to have the mob farm floating in the air, defying the laws of gravity in a way that makes sense. And you can also see the lighthouse off in the distance. I'm very happy that I went the extra mile and made the hot air balloon and the floating island, because otherwise it would just be a bit ugly. And yeah, the glowberries do help to lighten up the build a bit, and the towers also hide the drop chute from the mob farm, because there's nothing much you can do about that. But I did use some tinted glass so that you could actually see the mobs falling from the surface. And you might be wondering, how do I get from the mob farm? Well, the simple solution is that I'm not using the ladder like I was at first, because that's very slow and tedious. I used another portal that I linked up from the mob farm to the village. So that's why I'm waving my sword wildly about to gesture to... But yeah, it's a lot easier since I don't have an elytra just yet. And I decorated the island with some of the stuff that I got from the Lush Cave, and I put my axolotls there as well. And in between episodes, I will potentially breed them and try to get a blue axolotl, but it's very rare, so I probably won't do that because it takes a long time. And now, I will show you how to get to the mob farm through the nether. Here you can see our regular old nether portal, where we grow some trees. Inside, I made this wooden bridge and made it all mob-proof because it is far away from the lava, so it can't burn unless gas set it on fire. But it's safe for piglins and hoglins, who are quite dangerous. And I made the hot air balloon from the nether wart block from these trees because it's a lot easier to get instead of wool. So I'm happy that I got to use the nether wart because I hardly ever use it, so it was a nice chance to use it this time. And now you can see we are in one of the towers that I made, and ta-da! We have entered the floating castle in the sky. There's not much going on here, but we do have our axolotls, which are cute. I didn't find a brown one, but that's okay because I could get them from breeding, and the blue one takes a very long time and lots of buckets of tropical fish, so I don't think I will do that, but I would like to at some point. I wanted this to feel very natural and lush, so I put the spore blossoms up there, and I used some deep slate to make the basket, and I used some tinted glass so that you could actually see the mobs falling from the sky, but from the mob farm, pardon me. But as you can see, it is very efficient, and I can easily get tons of levels. We do have a problem where spiders tend to clog up the mob farm, so I might have to go and prevent them from being able to spawn. But in this tower we have our enchanting setup, And there's nothing in that tower just yet, but maybe I'll put some extra chests. And here we have a little campfire. Now you might be wondering, where do we get the loot? Here in the belly of the beast, we have our chests. And yeah, it is quite fast and efficient. I do get tons and tons of point levels. Look at that. Already level 27. Absolutely awesome. I'm very pleased with how this mob farm turned out. I'm glad I went the extra mile and used tinted glass and made a floating island and a hot air balloon. It makes it so much easier than going up and down a slow ladder, which can be very tedious. But yeah, now I will show you a very quick clip of the lighthouse and the docks. And just like that, we are at level 30. That was no time at all. So it is a very efficient mob farm. So I might not even have to use the skeleton spotters, because what I didn't say before was that I found an iron vein, and so I got almost 9 stacks of iron ore, as well as more diamonds and tons of ores. And while excavating the iron vein, I found 2 skeleton spotters, and I originally wanted to link them up to make a dual skeleton spotter farm, so that I could turn this mob farm in the sky into a creeper-only farm. But it works so well that I really don't think I have to do that. And as you could see along the way, an iron golem decided to take a bath. That was kind of funny. Now you can see the mob farm coming into view, and I really like that you could see it from the town wall. It adds a whole new level of movement and activity to the coastline and the skies. I normally never do that, so I'm very pleased that I decided to this time. And of course, along this path, I will add lots more crop fields and flower fields and more structures. So yeah, it'll look a lot better in the future. Now we are walking along the hillside to the lighthouse, and it does look quite cute in the distance. It has a good view of the mob farm and the docks and the coastline. Now you can see the final version of the windows that I decided to go for. And I just bone mealed it, but I might put a crop for. And we are missing one staircase for the windows, which is a bit annoying, but I will go back and fix that later. There's no interior, so I do have to come back and text and add some details, because that's where the lighthouse keeper was going to live. And you can go all the way up this ladder to get to the top. I'm not a fan of spiral staircases, although I know people usually prefer them, so apologies for that. And this is the final light that I went with. I wanted to use campfires, but sometimes they're not visible from far away, so this is kind of more fit what I wanted the vibes for. And I might make a huge light beam with stained glass and more light sources going out. And there you can see we have the docks, and I will fill on the whole coastline, do some terraforming and everything. Because the beach is quite ugly, and yeah, it just doesn't look very natural. And I do want to use those islands off in the distance as well. And there you can see we have the hot air balloon in the castle in the sky. And yeah, very happy with how it turned out. And I might even make some fishing villages over there, or some other, like maybe a pirate town or something like that. Who knows? We have lots of room to work with. But that is all the time we have for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, take care, bye-bye.